Former Malaysian Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin has been charged with abuse of power and money laundering. He was read 6 charges at the High Court in Kuala Lumpur this morning, with another to be filed on Monday at the court in Shah Alam. And for more, we're joined now by James Chin, Professor of Asian Studies at the University of Tasmania. Professor Chin, welcome. Now, first of all, the Jana Wibawa case, it was a project set up during the pandemic to redevelop the country's economy to save Bumiputra contractors from bankruptcy. Why has this case come into the spotlight right now, and can we expect it to blow up to the extent of the 1MDB scandal?
Thank you very much. So basically, the whole program that was set up during the pandemic was essentially to rescue Bumiputra companies. The government realized that a lot of the Malaysian Bumiputra companies were in trouble because during the pandemic, a lot of the economic projects, business projects, they all came to a halt. So the idea behind this program was basically a program to rescue all these companies. And what happened was that they were given special leeway, especially in terms of the contract amounts. So basically, the argument is that a lot of these companies, Bumiputra companies, were given contracts worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars without proper scrutiny. So the allegations is that some of these contracts were given up for political reasons, because some of these companies kicked back some of the project amount back to the political party, Bersatu Muhyiddin's party, and also Muhyiddin himself.
So when Anwar Ibrahim was the opposition leader, Professor Chin, he called on the MACC to investigate the LCS scandal, saying there was clearly a misappropriation of funds and massive corruption, yet charges against Mr. Muhyiddin are gaining momentum instead. Would you say this is indeed selective political persecution, as what some critics are claiming?
No, I would not say that is selective persecution. I think what Anwar is doing is that he is trying to get back the confidence of the market. As you know, one of the big problems with Malaysia now, especially when it's trying to recover from the pandemic, is that they need to send a very strong signal out to the international community that they're very serious about cleaning up Malaysia. A lot of international foreign investors shy away from Malaysia primarily because of 1MDB and other related corruption issues. So one easy way to get back the confidence of the international business community is to clean up Malaysia. And this is exactly what Anwar is doing. He's going after what the Malaysians said, the big fishes instead of the small fish. And this will send a very, very positive signal to the market.
Okay, but the LCS project is said to be the largest defense procurement in the country's history, started by then Defense Minister Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who is currently his Deputy Prime Minister. So why the change of priorities right now?
I think the way to understand this is that the LCS project, the investigations, or at least when it comes to charging, is not ready yet. I don't doubt that they're still doing the investigations in the background. But in this case, I think the contracts given up during the pandemic era, I think that was much easier to investigate, especially when we're talking about hundreds of millions that was doled out and nothing was done. In fact, a lot of those projects never took off the ground, even though money was paid by the government. With the LCS, I think it's far more complicated. Most people don't realize that the LCS project actually go back more than 10 years. A lot of the projects or allegations about the LCS project did not happen during the pandemic era of 20 and 2021.
Okay, Professor Chin, as you were speaking there, we are getting some live pictures out of Malaysia. Mr. Muhyiddin speaking to the media right now, making a press conference. And of course, all of this comes ahead of state elections. And Mr. Muhyiddin says the charges stem from the government's fear that PN will win the votes, especially those of Malays and Bumiputras. Do you think he is right? And what implications will these charges have on the sentiments of people on the ground towards the government and Mr. Muhyiddin's party?
There is no doubt that the charges, especially the corruption charges against Muhyiddin himself and his party Bersatu, will have an impact on the upcoming 6 state elections. The reason is that one of the key reasons why Muhyiddin and Bersatu did very well in last November's general election was that they painted themselves as the corrupt-free party compared to the main competitor, which is UMNO, which is like the Zahid, who's currently got outstanding corruption charges. So the government, by charging them at this particular moment, means that with the upcoming state elections, it'll be much harder for Muhyiddin and Perikatan Nasional and Bersatu, his own party, to claim that they're cleaner than the government. So yes, it will have an impact, but I'm not sure what is the level of impact. All I know is that I think if you look at the Malay ground right now, I think all of them are talking about this issue. The reason is because the amount that we're talking about is probably in the region of at least 500 million. So R500 million is really a lot of money.
So how well do you think Mr. Anwar's government is going to perform in this election? Do you think he has made inroads into gaining the support of the crucial Malay electoral ground?
I think the major play in this coming election were actually not so much with Bersatu. As I mentioned, Bersatu is in trouble politically. I think everyone is looking towards more towards Party Islam Malaysia, PAS. PAS is actually the party that was that did an outstanding job in the last November's election. So people are looking at whether they can repeat the vote. My take is that it is too early to try to second guess. Probably the best time to look at the Malay ground is after Hari Raya. Hari Raya is always a very important time among the Malay electorate. So we have to see what sort of money goes down to the ground from the government side during Hari Raya, how big the celebrations is, and whether there is such a thing as, feel good moment after the festivals. Because everybody expects the elections to be held in July or August this year.
Okay, Professor Chin, thank you so much for speaking with us. That was James Chin, Professor of Asian Studies at the University of Tasmania.